Hillery. All right. Okay, so now got it. So I just have to type that. Okay, folks. Well, when I, opened my daily word a few days ago to see what was going to be on Sunday, I thought, I think this is very good for what our wonderful speaker, Karie, is going to talk about. I mean, I think it fits in with her personality. And so on October the 24th, 2021, my purpose fuels my passion. It's about passion, and we all know Karie is very passionate, and we all should be too. Purpose sets my heart aflame with passion. Each day I awaken ready to answer the call of my heart, to give my best efforts and fullest attention to purposeful activity. Passion is the energy I bring to everything I do. I discover the glory of God through passion as I do the things that make me feel the most alive, that fill me with energy and zeal and color the world with hope and promise. I recognize the divine presence behind it all. God is the source of all passion. I feel all passion that I feel and the purpose that drives me. My passion is not for me alone. The life energy that radiates from me inspires those around me to live a life of purpose and passion, to boldly express their divinity as only they can. Whoever speaks must do so as one speaking the very words of God. Whoever serves must do so with the strength that God supplies. That was from 1 Peter 4:11. And I think that Karie radiates this energy. I think it comes from her and inspires those around her to live a life of purpose and passion. And her talk today on the power of love definitely is a passion of hers. And we'll be getting some wonderful ideas, I know, from her. So Karie, I'm going to hand this service over to you and look forward to hearing what you have to say. And sing. She sings. Okay, Karie.
Thank you, Barbara. So this morning, I want to explore a notion that I've had pretty much as far back as I can remember, and that is that love is truly the answer. And I know that that sounds a little simplistic and probably trite, but when you think about it, love is probably the most powerful force, the most powerful energy that any of us have to use for any purpose. And I've seen the power of love shift so many untenable challenges, unloving situations between friends, family, things that just seemed absolutely hopeless. And then when love entered in, I saw bridges being built and hearts opening. And I know that it's using the power of love and having people love me has changed my life for the better. So my thinking is if the power of love can change our personal situations and relationships, why couldn't the power of love help heal the world and help change the world? In the Bible, Jesus said, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. And it sounds so simple, but putting that energy into action can be a real challenge at times, I'm sure, for all of us. I love this directive from God, and this is from Ernest Holmes, and he's the founder of the Science of Mind teachings. He said that we should live constructively in unity and love and sympathy with everything around us. He believed that every person is born to be creative, to live life to the fullest, to be happy, glad, prosperous, and whole. What a great concept. that everyone should have all of these gifts. So this guidance comes in one phrasing, one teaching, or another in all of the major spiritual paths that I've looked into, from the Quran to Buddhism, Christianity, a lot of the indigenous teachings. And basically it's the golden rule. That's probably the simplest teaching, love others or treat others as you would like to be loved or treated. So this idea of uniting in love and sympathy with everyone isn't anything new, and it's in all of the major life's teachings. So love seems to be one of the common denominators that binds all of us together. And it seems that this very natural emotion can be the glue that holds not only our personal relationships with our family and our friends, our teachers, our mentors, but it's the glue that can hold the world together and to help heal the world. I want to share a reading by Lao Tzu, who is one of my favorite teachers. And he teaches us that being deeply loved by someone gives us strength, while loving someone deeply gives us courage. So let's read that together. Being loved deeply by someone gives us strength, while loving someone deeply gives us courage. So this is really true. And isn't it easier to pursue our dreams when we have someone who loves us, that shares our vision? I mean, in my life, I'm blessed to have a husband who shares a lot of the same dreams and intentions for the world that I do. And having his loving intention and kindness and support has been really meaningful and very important on my soul's journey, because he helps give me the strength to go after the dreams that matter to me. And his trust and belief in me and those shared visions are kind of an anchor for me in the world, especially when things are really crazy. And because I believe and love him, it helps him pursue the things that really matter to him. And it's the same can be true of not just a personal relationship or a marriage. It can be true in our circle of our friends, and it can be true within our communities. And I think that even if we don't have a partner or a community that loves us and supports us, that by being a loving entity in the world, that we can help create those communities, not only for ourselves, but for others, just by showing up in the world, by doing simple acts of kindness, like holding a door for someone, and just following our heart in our interactions in our daily lives. I mean, there's so many people that emulate this, like Mother Teresa. She's one of my very favorite teachers. And her way of showing up in the world was to love fearlessly, to love unconditionally, with no expectation of a reward. And I just find her to be absolutely awesome. She taught us to spread love everywhere we go. Let no one ever come to you without leaving happier. And what a great tenet to do your life. She just chose always to show up as love. She showed up choosing love over fear. She knew that fear can contract us while love expands us, and that what she created in life was what she was willing to be: unconditional love. So we know that there are human incarnations that are able to show up with that high of a vibration. And even though it can be a challenge sometimes, I believe that how she lived is possible for all of us. It's our fear and our resistance to being expressions of love and trust that hold us back. Now, sometimes our fear is a resistance to the point where it stops us. But if we can push through it, even if we show love towards someone who isn't necessarily receptive to it, we can just love them accept that maybe they're not comfortable with that expression, bless them, and move on to find people that perhaps are going to be more receptive to that. So the Bible teaches us in Corinthians 13:13, and now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. That's always been one of my very favorite verses from the Bible. And it's inspired a song that I wrote several years ago that's on my one of my CDs. I can't remember which one. I think it's on the Enough CD. No, I think it's on the Messages of Love CD, but I want to share that with you because it's a very powerful expression to recognize that love is truly the greatest gift, not only that we can receive, but that we can give.
I'm finding my faith, living in love, filling with hope and peace from above. As I abide in all of these, I know the greatest gift is love. The greatest gift is love. I am living in joy, finished with fear. That still small voice within me clear. Open my heart and I will hear and know the greatest gift is love. I know the greatest gift is love. I am opening up, looking deep down inside, learning to trust there's nothing to hide. I'm letting go of my foolish pride, claiming the greatest gift of love, the greatest gift of love. I am reaching out, finding answers within. Every new day brings a place to begin. Each lesson learned helps my heart to amend. I know the greatest gift is love. The greatest gift is love. I know the greatest gift is love.
Sorry, I'm not, I just realized I was muted.
Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
suggesting that when we come to the understanding that love is a great way to show up in the world, that we just, go up and slobber all over everybody like an overzealous puppy, because that's going to definitely not be well received with some people. Some maybe so, some not so much. But what I'm encouraging us to do is to work on moving more toward being comfortable showing up as a loving entity, being more comfortable showing up as kind of the incarnation that Mother Teresa was. And some of what happens is, has been for me is when I'm not in a good place mentally, when I'm not paying attention to what my energy is when I come into situations, that I start judging people. Anybody else do that? I'd hate to be the only one. So, you might notice some jerk that's in the line in front of you at the store, and he was being a little testy with the cashier. And it's really easy to go, gosh, what a jerk. I wonder what's up with that person. But what I've learned, especially having been that jerk many times myself, is that sometimes people are just barely coping with what's going on in their lives. And I know that a lot of you know me and know that I took care of my mother for about 10 years with Alzheimer's. And that was my own little personal hell. Patience and compassion were two of the most precious gifts that I received, that I learned taking care of my mother. And it was such a weird journey, because my mother had formerly been a really sweet, bright, kind, compassionate person. And to try to run interference with her caregivers, who only knew this stubborn, angry, obstinate, unhinged person, to help somehow liaison a relationship between her and them by explaining to them who my mother was before the disease. And it really broke my heart open in a way that I don't think anything else in my life really has. It was such a long journey and it was so painful for so much of it. And yet there were these incredibly precious gems and pearls that I learned in the process of taking care of her. So I remember looking back and actually even conversing in line with a woman once who was taking care of a parent with dementia, and kind of assuring her that it's okay to be in that bubble, and encouraging her to be loving and kind to other people who might be in a bubble and not realize how testy they're being, because they're barely coping with whatever. It can be a sick spouse, it can be an out of control teenager, it could be your own personal, you might be dealing with a terminal disease yourself. And we don't know what the strangers we come across with are dealing with in their own lives. So we need to show up as compassionate and kind as we can raise our vibration to be. So I just remember reflecting on my time, those years with my mother, and recognizing after the fact that I was in a bubble. I'm sure I was totally testy and impatient with people all the time because I was barely coping. So we need to do our best to show up as open-hearted as we can. And if we can forgive other people in the moment for their bad behavior, just forgive them, bless them, and move on. That's a gift. Because we have to remember that every thought that we think, we can either shift things in a positive direction or a negative direction. We can reach for that love and that compassion and that understanding, that sympathy, or we can just be angry. So what are you going to choose? I really work hard at choosing kindness. And I had an experience that kind of helped set the course for me. Out of my 47 years performing, there was one venue up in Humboldt that was my absolute favorite place that I ever played in my entire career. And the venue was sold right into my second year performing there. And unfortunately, the owner's wife had some mental health issues. And I could tell that she wasn't that happy with me. She was doing some odd things. And my response was to work harder, try to build the business, do my best to bring in more customers. And even though I succeeded in that, I still got fired. And it was a very small community. And I was very uncomfortable going out in the town because I was terrified that I would run into her and that there would be some altercation, that I would have some unhealed space within me, and that I would do or say the wrong thing. And I kept walking around with this dread. And eventually I had what I call, one of my epiphanic moments. Most people call them an epiphany, but I call them an epiphanic moment. And that was that I had to just forgive her abusive treatment. I had to let it go and just work on what my part of what went sideways in that relationship was. What did I do? What could I have done better? How could I have been more honest or forthcoming or understanding or whatever? And, if there was nothing that I figured out that I did wrong, then forgive myself for staying in a dysfunctional relationship a little bit too long. And I kept asking for guidance, that if I ever did cross paths with her, that I would be given the right words, that I would do the right thing. And it was about 2 years later, I was playing a local event. And of course, there she was. And I remember my background singer getting very close to me to be in between us in case something went sideways, because everybody knew that it was it affected me for years. But anyway, when she came toward me, I opened my arms. And I said, "Hi, it's so good to see you." And she fell into my arms and she said, "It's so good to see you. I'm so sorry. I was in a really bad place and I know I was horrible to you." And I held her and I said, "I was struggling too. I wish I had handled everything better. And I'm really sorry for my part in it." And we both cried. And it was one of the most healing experiences of my life. And so I was able to kind of carry that forward, that trusting that if I asked for guidance that and listened, that's the second component of that, that it would be there for me. And if I got nothing, then maybe nothing was what I was supposed to do. So the incredible power of forgiveness was a huge lesson for me in that relationship. And it broke me open in a way that I probably wouldn't have been open in that capacity through any other experience except something that was so miserably painful and that was healed so simply and so beautifully. So Rumi tells us you have to keep breaking your heart until it opens. So I want to share with you a song I wrote about going through life with an open heart.
Gonna open up my heart to the world around me. Share a smile with everyone I see. This is what I believe. What we give, we will receive. Gonna open up my heart. Gonna reach right out when somebody needs me. Listen to what their heart needs to share. Gonna try to understand, do the very best I can. Gonna open up my heart. Gonna open up my heart. Gonna try to help someone who is hurting. I'll heal a heart by showing that I care. I will stay right by their side through the darkest hurtful times. Gonna open up my heart. Gonna open up my heart. I can see a world full of abundance. Perfection shines in everything I see. It's time to believe in our prosperity. Time to open up my heart. Time to open up my heart. Gonna share a little love with the world around me. Do my best to lift somebody up. Share the love I feel inside, something deep I just can't hide. Time to open up my heart. Time to open up my heart. Gonna share a little love with the world around me. Do my best to lift somebody up. Share the love we feel inside, something deep we just can't hide. Time to open up our hearts. Time to open up our hearts. Open up our hearts.
So Debashish Murata says, let us bloom like a flower, opening up our heart and mind by smiling and becoming kind. I just love this vision of blooming into an open heart. That's just so beautiful and such a great visual for me. And my experience has been it's kind of a slow process to get it. Kind of happened with a lot of fits and starts for me. And I've certainly had my heart broken wide open in more than one way and on many different occasions. I think part of our growth as humans is to not let it break us, let it break us open in a positive way. And it's important to accept that sometimes we're going to miss the mark. I mean, I could have done the total wrong thing with that venue owner. I could have said the wrong thing. It could have blown it up even worse. And we have to be able to forgive ourselves when that happens. And that's one thing that that all of the great teachers, from Jesus to Gandhi to MLK to Nelson Mandela to the Buddha, they all teach us that that you can work really hard to forgive other people and get really good at that. But sometimes the most important person to forgive is yourself. The Buddha says, you can search throughout the entire universe for someone who is more deserving of your love than you are yourself. And that person is not to be found anywhere. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. So I'm wondering if I'm the only person here who won't love themselves or has little periods of self-loathing. So I'm hoping I'm not, but I would guess I probably am among friends that can be pretty hard on themselves. So sometimes just accepting and forgiving myself is the most powerful thing that I can do. To move on, to love ourselves in spite of our shortcomings is the most important lesson in lots of our life experiences. So even those that we look to for guidance have had really dark times, but they kept their vision on something greater, on becoming something greater, on knowing and trusting that there is guidance, that there is a source that is greater, that can pull us into higher consciousness, that can help us grow into what we're capable of being. All of the people that I looked to had a reverence for the world as one, and they had an understanding that everything is connected to everything else. This is probably my favorite Mother Teresa quote, because it just pretty much says it all. She says, if we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. Now that is a really, really powerful reminder. Martin Luther King stuck to his basic tenet saying, I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. So I have always looked to him and others like Gandhi and Nelson Mandela and the Dalai Lama who found forgiveness. And if you look at all of their life trajectories, they somehow managed to forgive things that, frankly, to me, seem absolutely unforgivable. To have your country taken over, to be spit on by people, to be treated with incredible disrespect, to go on hunger strike, to fight for equality. I mean, these are people that had it way harder than anything I could ever imagine. And yet they managed to let go of all the baggage, all the anger, all of the wrongs that were done to them and their people and their country, and to just move forward in a loving way. I mean, if Nelson Mandela, when he was in prison, he made a promise to himself that he would never treat the people who imprisoned him with anything but the utmost respect and love, that he would never lower himself to a vibration of hate. And he kept that promise. And when he was released from prison 27 years later, he never looked back. He moved forward with forgiveness, with love. And truly, this is a man who lived in my lifetime. This is somebody who took, by my standards, forgiveness and acceptance and love to a whole new level. And he truly changed the world. He changed not just his own country, but he changed our world because he consciously decided to live in forgiveness. I mean, boy, talk about some great teachers that we've had. So the idea or practice of coming from forgiveness and trying to stay in a vibration of love, and ask myself all the time, what would love do here? I mean, I had a great teacher in one of the churches that I worked at years and years ago. I was in Arizona, and when I first started doing music for New Thought venues, there was a minister called Michelle Whittington. And this is a lesson that has stuck with me forever. I don't even remember what she used for an example, but she said, when you're in a challenging situation, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what would love do here? And then do it. And I know I have shared this in many of my talks because it is basically, it's a biblical teaching. And it's what Jesus did pretty much without fail. It's what all of the people who operate at a higher consciousness seem to get to a lot quicker than the rest of us that are working to get to that higher consciousness. So when you bump up against something, you ask yourself, what would love do here? And then you pause and then you do it. And sometimes what love would do there is nothing. Sometimes it's a hard action, something you have to really reach for the power and the energy to do. And sometimes it's just to be still, to listen, to show up as a compassionate heart. And sometimes it's to take action. It's to stand between, a police officer and a person of color and be a witness. Sometimes it's to hold someone's hand. Sometimes it's to pull over and give somebody a ride or directions, but just to stop and ask, what would love do here? And then do it. So I have a new song that I want to share that I just wrote because I've been using this practice more and more as things get kind of testy. I think a lot of us are really tired of COVID. I know I am, but I'm still doing everything I can to protect those around me. I'm vaccinated and I'm still laying low and not going to things and keeping myself pretty much in isolation. But I'd like to take about 3 minutes while Kelly plays my new song. And I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and imagine a situation where showing up as a loving presence might shift energy to a higher vibration. And you can reflect maybe on an interaction that you feel like you could have maybe handled a little bit better, or even one that you felt like you really did a great job. And just kind of reflect on how it felt, or what you might have been able to do different if you had stopped just for a moment and asked, what would love do here? How can I show up as a higher vibration in this circumstance? And allow yourself to experience what centering your heart in that feeling, in that moment feels like. And then kind of hold on to how that feels so that you can remember what it's like to check in that way. So that the next time you're challenged, you can maybe latch onto that again. So here's one of my very newest songs. So take a deep breath and close your eyes, or you can watch the video.
What would love do here? answer lives inside. Trusting through the fear, pushed beyond our pride. What is it that we're searching for? What is it that we need? It's found beyond our selfish ways, and it thrives beyond our greed. Oh, love, yes, love. What would love do here? Love can heal the world. That's what love, that's what love, that's what love can do. What is it that is mine to do? Can it really be the change? Is kindness really powerful? And why is hate to blame? Every time I look around, in everything I see, love is what we're longing for, and love is all we need. Oh, love, yes, love. What would love do here? Love can heal the world. That's what love, that's what love, that's what love can do. That's what love, that's what love, that's what love can do.
Well, Karie, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Of course, you're.
I hope that brought up some good thoughts and some good feelings for
Oh,
some
I'm
of you.
sure it did. I'm sure it did.
I want to close just with a reading that we can all do together. And I just want to remind
Well,
all of
still
us
on
that,
mute though, right?
what?
Still on mute.
Yeah, still on mute.
On mute. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I just want to remind people that it doesn't have to be a big thing. Just holding a door for someone or smiling at a stranger, that is an act of higher consciousness. That's an act of love and caring. So we don't have to move mountains. We can just show up as kindness. And that's a good thing, because when we do that, we're showing up as extensions of something, a higher power than ourselves. So I'd like to read this from John. It's John 4:16. And I'd like everybody to read this with me. And so we know and rely on the love God has for us. God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God, and God in them. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great to share with you all again. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Terrific. I'm so glad that you were able to record that, because I mean, one time it's been, I don't know what was going on. Maybe it was fire or something. We had only 10 people, but usually we have, up to around 14 or so. Now that's not a big number, but that is for us very, very nice. A lot of people would have gotten the message. So thank you. So I'd like to go ahead now with some announcements. And just to let you know, well, next Sunday is Halloween, right? October. Who's that pretty lady? Anyway, October the 31st. So I hope you get a chance to get out and enjoy the trick-or-treaters on that fun day. That'll bring a smile to your face. And yes, of course, I never want to say I hope it's not raining because that's not good, but I won't say that. But anyway, so that'll be the 31st. And then on the next day, you will be getting the newsletter that I'll be sending out. And in the newsletter, November newsletter, you'll see that Patricia Holler is going to be at the church still on the first and the third Sunday. And our guest speaker will be Dave Lyman on the 14th doing a Zoom, and he's always terrific. The end of the month, Alice Levy will be at our center on the last Sunday. You'll get to find out what she's doing when you get the newsletter. So November should be very happy, and we hope to see you. So then, okay, so now donations, they're much appreciated. Thank you, everyone, for supporting us. Mail your checks to Unity, P.O. Box 755, Lower Lake 95457. Thank you, everyone. So appreciated. Okay, and then, the prayer for protection. Okay, now, as you know, Patricia has been coming to the church the first and third Sunday. And she's done this before, but this time she made a copy of her prayer for protection that they do up in Grass Valley. See what you think. I think you'll get the idea of it and you can join in with us. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is. Because I am, and all is wonderful. I love it. All is wonderful. Carrie's going to do a closing song, You Are the Light, and then after that, we'll unmute and chat a bit.
The words to this song are, you are the light of love. I am the light of love. You are the light. I am the light. We are the light of love. The word love will change, and I'll call out what that word's going to be. You are the light of love. I'm the light of love. You are the light. I am the light. We are the light of love. Peace. You are the light of peace. I am the light of peace. You are the light. I am the light. We are the light of peace. Joy. You are the light of joy. I am the light of joy. You are the light. I am the light. We are the light of joy. Love. You are the light of love. I am the light of love. You are the light. I am the light. We are the light of love. We are the light of love. We are the light of love.